learn Torah. In Yerushalayim. In Yerushalayim. Did you see there's a special lesson at 11? You saw? No?
Yeah.
11 o'clock, yeah.
Lesson?
A special gathering, all the English department. English department. No, it'll be downstairs actually.
Downstairs?
In the social hall. Today.
When we did the video, right? You remember?
Where we did the video, that's right.
Also this gonna come today?
I don't think we'll have a video. Maybe we will. I don't know. We'll see. It's in the new,
In the basement, right?
That's right. That's right. Yeah, in the new building, -1, right. Okay, sounds good.
Sounds good. 11 o'clock.
11 o'clock. It says on the page, social hall. -1.
It's nice, eh?
Floor -1. -1. Okay. Today we're going to start chapter 4, the mitzvah of the shofar. We just briefly mentioned before that the shofar is blown during the Musaf prayer, a special form of prayer. It's interconnected with the special brachot of the Musaf of Rosh Hashanah, Musaf, the extra prayer on Rosh Hashanah, that has 9 blessings as opposed to 7 every other time. Chapter 4 is on page 70. We're going to start chapter 4. It's a nice long chapter. There's lots of definition. What is a shofar? What makes a kosher shofar? How to blow the shofar? How many times do we blow the shofar on Rosh Hashanah? Twice, 3 times. How many sounds do you hear? Right, each time we said the basic law that says, the Torah says, the day, it should be Yom Teruah. Good. Yom Teruah should be a day of shofar blast, but it doesn't say how many. And we said that, I say, just tell us that every Teruah has to have a Tekiyah before it and a Tekiyah after it. Remember that? Yes. And we said that it's symbolic. It means the Teruah is a wail, it's an alarm, it's a cry. The Tekiyah is an all-clear sign. Remember we talked about that. So, theoretically all you need is 3 sounds. Tekiyah, Teruah, and Tekiyah. We're going to see somehow those 3 sounds turn into 100, as Amos said. And that's on the first day of Rosh Hashanah, and then another 100 on the second day of Rosh Hashanah. And then, of course, for fun, maybe some people do more in the afternoon. Yom Kippur is not biblically mandated except once in 50 years. At the end of the Jubilee year, or the beginning of the Jubilee year, they blow the shofar. We do it every year on Yom Kippur, only out of a custom. At the end, to mark the end of the day of Yom Kippur, we're speaking about the redemption coming, being forgiven, so we blow the shofar. It's a reminiscent of the biblical shofar in Yom Kippur once every 50 years. But that's just once.
When is the next shofar?
Good question.
Because the last one was, I remember, in 2013 or 14 or something, between that year of 12, 2012, or 11. Because remember, there was a Yovel 10 years ago or something.
I'll tell you what you're thinking of, maybe, is Yovel of Medinat Israel. Yovel means the 50th year.
Machon, yes.
So maybe we celebrated like an anniversary of the establishment of the state of Israel, 50 years for the state of Israel. But the Yovel we're speaking about is 50 years in the Shemitah cycle.
Yes,
7 times 7, and then a 50th year. We don't have that for thousands of years.
Oh, we don't have
so that's why you're asking me, when is it going to be next? I don't know. We don't practice it right now. We need to have the majority of the Jewish people back in the land of Israel. Perhaps we need to have each and every tribe in its portion, in its allotted part of the land, which we don't have any idea who the tribes are. So I don't know exactly when and how that's going to happen. And we probably need a Beit Din Gadol in Yerushalayim. We need the great court sitting in the temple, So I don't know when that's going to happen. So when's the next Yovel is a good question.
We lost the count, you can say?
Yes, also the count is not clear. So many years without counting the Yovel. We just count 7, 7, 7, 7. In the day, there's a debate, of course, but in the day, the standard opinion is, the accepted opinion is that after 7 cycles of 7, you have 1 year of Yovel, which is not part of the cycle. And then you start 7 times 7 again. But you're right, for thousands of years now, we've not been counting the Yovel at all. So we just do 7, 7, 7, 7 until today.
Even the Shemit is not right.
I don't know if it's right or wrong. Basically, right, exactly. So if we're not doing the 50-year cycle, maybe the Shmitas are not properly kept, yes. Well, so most assume that it's rabbinic today.
1 year every 50 years.
That's right. So most assume that it's a rabbinic law that we keep the Shemitah nowadays. We're finishing the Shemitah year in a couple of weeks. But it's probably a rabbinic Shemitah. And then we go straight away to year number 1. We don't have any Jubilee year. But listen, there is a custom. It says in the Torah, it's a mitzvah, on the Jubilee year, to make a gathering called Hakhel. Hakhel, from Kahal. Kahal is
Community.
a community, right? Kehila, a community, right? Kahal, community, it's a community. So Hakhel is the mitzvah says that you should gather all the people once every 50 years. The king reads from the Torah in Jerusalem, and it's a big event, an educational gathering of all the Jewish people once every 50 years. So since we don't have the Jubilee year, it's become customary now at the end of the Shemitah year, this coming Sukkot, hopefully there is going to be a commemorative gathering, sort of a pseudo Hakhel, even though it's not the 50th year, it's just 7 years. The biblical commandment is in the Jubilee year, correct?
But it's not in the Shemitah year.
No, I don't think so. I don't think so. I think the Hakhel is every Shemitah year. I think it's only one every 50 years. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. I think the pasuk is
every 7 years you should read the Torah in a pasuk.
Are you sure about that? We'll have to look it up. Yeah. Okay. Well, if you're sure, then maybe I'm remembering it incorrectly. I remembered it different, but maybe you're right. Yeah.
Maybe I'm wrong.
So I'm already teaching you something to maybe be careful. Yes.
Still keep the Shemitah year because we had this is Shemitah year, right?
Right, rabbinically.
So that we didn't lose that. But only
correct.
To choose which was the beginning of the cycle.
That's right. That's right.
Be a problem because we can be.
It is a problem. There are many different opinions, but
they cannot go trace it back when we plan like
we try. We definitely try. We have historical documents which say which year it is of the Shemitah, and then we can figure out which year it is based on the secular calendar. And we have, but the problem is there's contradictions and there's different opinions, and there's a debate whether or not we should do a 50th year now just as a place marker and not start the next cycle of 7. But the standard practice is we just have 7, 7, 7, 7, 7 until Mashiach comes or until the Jewish people come back. We'll see which happens first.
Come Mashiach in the Yovel year? Mashiach comes in the Yovel year?
Not necessarily, no. It could come. There's a tradition, I think the Mashiach comes in the Shemitah year. So we still have a few weeks. Maybe he'll come right away.
Maybe you can't join the class.
The Mashiach, there's a tradition. The 7th is special, right? 7th day, Shabbat is holy day. We say Shabbat is like Olam Haba. So Shemitah also, it's a very special year. So maybe Mashiach will come this year.
200 years, you have the Shemitah millennium. Like we are 500.
Right, 5782 now. 5783 soon. So you're saying when we get to 5.
No, you get to 6,000.
When you get to 6,000, what's going to happen?
I have
I'm sad about it.
Oh. So
1:30.
anybody who thinks they know, you should tell them that they don't know. We don't know. We don't. There is a tradition, of course, you've heard of it, that the world cycle is 7,000 years. Like each 1,000 years is like a day, and 7,000, which of course starts at year 6,000. 6,001 is already in the 7,000, right? So then that's considered to be like a sabbatical. So maybe that'll be a whole new world, and everything will be changed, and it's the end of history, and we'll be living in a new reality. Who knows? But there is such a tradition. Of course, the Kabbalists make everything complicated, and they say, well, if there's 7,000 years, maybe there's 7 times 7,000 years. Who knows which cycle we're in right now? The pasuk says that the Shemitah year. Thank you so much. Where is it?
It's 10, 11. If you want to start at 9.
Oh, you're right. It's the Shemitah year. I apologize. Thank you, Renan. We're going to read the parsha in a few weeks, so I guess I'm out of my. It's been a year
No, we have a
since I read this.
reading
Yes,
every
yes.
week, but there is like the commandment was like once in 7 years. But
Excellent.
But the whole Torah, isn't it?
The whole Torah.
Well, they say the sages interpret that it probably means the book of Dvarim. The book of Dvarim, which is sort of like a summary or a repetition of the Torah.
Yeah.
Anyways, you're right. On the Sukkot after the Shemitah year, thank you. And so we do that commemorative. This Sukkot, there'll probably be a big gathering. I haven't heard about it, so it's probably not going to be that big. And it's just a commemorative. It's just a commemoration. It's not the real Hakel. It's not a mitzvah doraita to go or anything like that. We don't have a king. We don't have the biblical Shemitah, but it's always a good thing to gather Jewish people together.
And also it's a good thing to read the Torah.
And it's a good thing to read the Torah. The point it says is an educational gathering to teach the children, so they should know, have a big, strong Jewish identity, and know the mitzvot that they should keep. And so it's a wonderful, wonderful thing to gather and teach people Torah. Okay? And in fact, today at 11 o'clock, we're gathering to study Torah together.
Yeah. It's all
A little bit larger than our class. The entire
all
English department. English. Only English department, yeah. Okay? Let's start chapter 4, page 70, the mitzvah of the shofar. As I said, the primary mitzvah of Rosh Hashanah. Up till now, we've been discussing that it's a festival. We wear our festival clothing, and we have good food, and the special foods we eat, and the special musaf that we pray. We talked about the prayers, the Torah reading, but the heart of Rosh Hashanah is the shofar, right? Yeah, sure.
Before, I took my
Machzor. Very good.
But here is Yekum Purkan. What is it?
It's an Aramaic passage, which is said every Shabbat in Ashkenazi communities.
We do that.
Yeah, we do. And every Shabbat, yeah. It's when the Chazan starts the Musaf, that's the first thing he says. So that's why people have it in their mind. Yekum Purkan Nishmayo. Right, if you're in an Ashkenazi synagogue.
Prayer.
But the Sephardim never took this upon themselves. It's a prayer, it's an ancient prayer from the times of the Gaonim, if I'm not mistaken, way back. And that is a prayer because it mentions, it's actually amazing. I'm going to tell you a joke, but first, the Yom Kippur is a prayer for the rabbis, for the leaders of the community. There's two. The first one is about the head. It mentions Reish Galuta, the exilarch. This is an official position, the head of the community in exile, in Babylon. Right? That's where the Gaonim were. And so we pray for their benefit, for their health. They should have good things. It's nice. It's very nice to respect your leaders. And they should have good health and for all their families. And the second Yekum Purkan, there's actually 2 paragraphs to start with Yekum Purkan. The second one speaks about blessing the community, the shul, the people that are with you, and everybody who participates should have good things come to them. It's a beautiful blessing. Nowadays, we actually add a third passage in Hebrew, which pretty much repeats the same theme, that it's a blessing to the congregation. They tell the story that it's a really strange custom now to recite a prayer for the exilarch from 2,000 years ago. Sorry, not 2,000 years ago. 1,500 years ago. There's no exilarch today. There's no Reish Galuta. and his students and his students' students. Well, we could say we're still students of his students, of his students of his students for 1,000 years, but tradition is tradition, and we don't break with tradition. This is the Ashkenazi custom. Sephardi, I don't think they ever took that practice on, so they don't have it. But we're a very traditional society. We don't like change. They say that there was once a gathering, interfaith gathering. We should have peace on earth.
Yeah.
The reason we don't have peace, so many people say it's because of the religious wars. And so they had a Muslim, the Muslim leader, the Mufti maybe, and the Christian, the Pope was there, and the greatest rabbi of the generation. And they all had this gathering. They said, what could we do to bring world peace? So they decided that, we have to come together. To come together, we have to compromise. Everybody has to, compromise a little bit on their tenets of their faith, of their practices of something. So they went around the room and said, everybody, I'm not going to tell you what to give up on, but you tell me what you think you can be flexible about. So they first came the Pope. The Pope said, it's so hard, it's such an ancient tradition, but the Trinity, this idea that there's three gods, it's so hard to understand, and let's just go with Jesus. We'll leave out the Trinity, and we're willing to give that for the sake of world peace. Why not? We'll do that. It's compromise. And the Muslim leader, he goes ahead and he says, well, it's so central to us that all the other nations have to be subjugated by us. They have to be inferior to the Muslims. The Muslims always have to be in charge. So for the sake of world peace, we're going to give up on this precept, this idea. We don't have to rule over the whole world. Wow, okay. And they ask the Jew, the rabbi, and he thinks very hard. He says, listen, but peace is so important that I'm also willing to compromise. And he starts to explain to them, on every Shabbat, before Musaf, we have two prayers that start Yekum Purkan, may salvation come, and I'm willing to give up on one of them. For the sake of world peace. And of course, he was thrown out of the rabbinate. We're very hard. We don't leave our traditions very easily. So when Rosh Hashanah falls out on Shabbat, we have to say the Yekum Purkan. That's the part of the standard prayers.
If not, then we don't do that.
What do you mean? Only on Shabbat. If Rosh Hashanah is not on Shabbat, we don't have to say it. We don't
Okay.
say, but anyways, that's a very, very strong tradition. We don't play with it. Anyways, you asked what's Yekum Purkan. But on the standard day, what you're looking at, of course, in the Machzor is on Rosh Hashanah, when do we blow the shofar? During the services. Yesterday we spoke about the special Musaf, and I said in the Musaf we blow the shofar, but not only. We also blow the shofar before that. And we also blow the shofar after that. Where exactly? We're going to learn about it. And you're going to see, of course, when most people just go to shul, open up the machzor, and you follow along, whatever the community does. You don't have to know everything. But to get a better understanding of what we're doing when we're blowing and why we're blowing 100 times instead of 1 or 3. So we're going to learn a little bit more details about the shofar. Okay? All right. Renan, start us off. Chapter 4.
Chapter 4. It's a quote in Mishnah to hear the blessed, the rap of shofar on Rosh Hashanah, and it says, in the 7 months of the first of the months you shall observe it as a day of blessed, Yom Kippur. And in the 7 months on the first day of the month you shall observe completely rest, a separate occasion commemorated with loud blessed. Ziron Terah. The word Terah denotes brokenness. Thus we read, smash them, Terowen, with an iron mace, shatter them like others were. The word Terowen means breaking. Similarly, we read the earth is breaking. Oah, hitruah. The earth is crumbling. The earth is tottering. Yeshayahu 24. It's also say they shall lay waste the land of Syria with the sword. Meaning they will smash the land of Assyria. Is Rashi? Similarly, Oculus translates Yom Teruah as a day of wailing.
Beautiful. So we know the Hebrew word teruah means breaking. Wailing is a form of, when you use your voice and you sort of break your voice. Crying, you could be broken, but also the sound is it's like a breaking sound. Or maybe we're going to see there's different ways of perhaps doing this broken sound which expresses brokenness. That's one interpretation. There's, of course, many ways to interpret the word teruah and where it comes from, but the primary meaning is, as he said, this is the broken sound called teruah. It's a day of wailing. Okay, that's what Onkelos says. Yom teruah, Yom yebava. Yebava is Aramaic for wailing. On the other hand, go ahead. While tekiah
expresses joy and stability. Teruah amounts to brokenness, fear, tears, and radical change. Similarly, God instructed the Israelites in a letter to blow a tekiah and trumpets when they need to gather the people, as tekiah expressed joy and togetherness. In contrast, when they needed to go out of war or leave their encampment and move on, they were instructed to blow a teruah. Bar 10, 1 to 7. For a teruah represents brokenness, tears over that which is finished but imperfect, and apprehension about that comes next. So do on Rosh Hashanah, which is when the previous period has already been lived, never to return, and the upcoming year's life has yet to be
allotted, mean given a portion, yeah.
People experience anguish over the lost opportunities of the past year and great trepidation and anticipation of the judgment about the upcoming one. We face the accuser and we do not know who will live and who will die, who will be healthy and who will be suffering. God, in His mercy, commands us to go through with the shofar and thereby mitigate the judgment, or by accepting His kingship and judgment. We are inspired to repent, therefore, even though the Torah is short, it expresses the character of the day. This is why Rosh Hashanah is referred to as Yom Torah, a day of brokenness and tears, fear and trepidation. Okay?
Yep.
Based on a close reading of the verse, our serving prayer as an obligation to hear 3 through on Rosh Hashanah, each one of which must be preceded and followed by a tekiah. The Torah commandment is to hear 3 sets of tekiah to run tekiah.
Okay, so here we have the sages have a tradition that you have to do a tekiah before, tekiah afterwards. Yom Teruah once. No, the sages have another tradition. It says in the Torah the word teruah 3 times. We saw it in the 2 of the verses we saw in Vayikra and Bamidbar. There's a third, and they learn out that you have to have at least 3 teruah sounds on Rosh Hashanah. Each one is going to be sandwiched by a tekiah. So how many do we now have to do on 9? So some total of 9 is fulfilling the tradition of how many shofar blasts to hear.
How we got to 100?
We're getting there. We got another few pages to read, but it's amazing. Yes.
Is it also connected with the 3 blessings?
Not necessarily, but pretty much each time it could be connected to the 3 blessings. Yeah. So you could say, one shofar blowing one set for each blessing. 3, 3, 3 gives you 9. that should be all you need. However, we're going to see that it gets a little more complicated. But first, let's understand that this threesome, this set, tekiah, teruah, tekiah, always go together. There's always going to be a tekiah beforehand and a tekiah afterwards. Maybe it's a little bit of comfort, right? You want to pad the wailing. There's trouble, there's apprehension, but there is great blessing at the beginning and the promise of great blessing at the end, that there's going to be a happy end to the story. So there's always tekiah, teruah, tekiah. Okay, we're going to keep going a little more, and yeah.
Like the Torah, it repeats itself many things, many times.
True. So that's why we have a tradition. The oral Torah has a traditional interpretation as well. Yeah.
It's interpretation, like a hint, or 3 times.
It could be, right, that idea that it said 3 times is like a hint in the Torah, that's right. But I assume it's also an oral transmission. Yeah.
If we think like maybe 1 time would be enough.
Right, one would think that 1 time would be enough, but again, we have the oral tradition which tells us actually what it means is 3 times, and with a tekiah before and a tekiah afterwards.
If we celebrate 1 Pesach for each time that baby Pesach is mentioned.
Right, luckily we don't have to eat 100 matzahs.
Like 7 weeks.
Right. No, but so our tradition tells us that the Torah was given, the text was given, the content was given, together with how to interpret it, with the traditional interpretations. So it's not just we're making this stuff up. Afterwards, the expansion from 10 to 30 to 60 to 90 to 100, that clearly not biblical. Nobody claims it's biblical. It's traditions that we developed, and we'll see why in a few minutes. But the original interpretation, that when the Torah says Yom Teruah, a day of shofar blowing, what does that mean? 1, 2, 3, tekiah before, tekiah after. That is the core, I believe. That's an ancient tradition, which we interpret to be biblical. In other words, it's not just a rabbinic addition. That's really what it means when it says you should be a day of shofar blast. How many? Well, our tradition tells us 3 times. 3 times with the sandwich. So that's essentially 9 times. We're going to see why we do a little differently. We actually do sets of 10, not sets of 9, but we'll get to that in a few minutes, okay? Let's first understand what this idea is. Here's another beautiful explanation of the philosophy behind it at the bottom of page 71, where Amos was reading. Stephen, maybe you'll read the last beautiful explanation on page 71. The first tekiah of each set.
The first tekiah of each set express the natural uprightness of the soul, as that of small children who have yet to sin and who are still innocent and pure. As a child matured, though he is exposed to the complexity and dilemmas of this world, he struggled and tested. He failed and sinned. This is expressed by the ruah, citing or crying about our character defects and the sin to which we have succumbed. After this, another simple tekiah completes the set. It again expresses goodness and rectitude,
straightness.
But this time it is the goodness that follows repentance and asking forgiveness. Thus, each blast expresses a different part of life: the positive beginning, the struggle with life challenges, and the concluding corrective. At the end of all the blasts, the custom is to blow a particularly long tekiah, expressing the ultimate corrective when all struggling and suffering is over. Even though Rosh Hashanah is referred as the Yom Teruah because of the judgment and trembling inspired by the Teruah, we still blow a tekiah before and after the Teruah. This is because the positive tekiah judgment goals are positive, to distance us from evil, to lead us to self-improvement, and to grant us ultimate reward. Rabbeinu Baya Katha Kema Rosh Hashanah 2. Akedah Isha. Shah 67. The shofar hints at this duality as well. It frightens us when we hear it, and it
Simultaneously,
simultaneously inspire us to return to our roots, to our basic inner goodness. This is the advantage of a shofar over trumpets. The shofar natural sound expresses the deep desire to return to our roots, to connect with true goodness, and to strive for perfection.
beautiful ideas that the teruah represents the judgment, the fear, the apprehension, but it's not because God is angry and hates us, or He's trying to beat us down. The tekiah before shows us that it's like a father who's disciplining his child. And the tekiah after is maybe, it shows us that it's like a mother's love of her child, that sometimes she has to discipline him. But it's all part of a process of Hashem giving His blessing to the world. So the tekiah before and the tekiah after is very, very central, very basic. We have a Yom Teruah, but with tekiyot surrounding it, padded by the tekiah. Now, 30. We have to jump from 9 to 30 in the next paragraph. We'll take a question first. Yeah. 2. Yeah.
Since the shofar is to inspire us to return to our root, so is it okay for us to blow it every day?
Yeah, good question. So the truth is, there is a custom to blow every day of Elul, the month of Elul. You probably heard it this morning. If not, you better get to shul, because at the end of shul, they blow the shofar every day of Elul. This is a custom because it's so meaningful, it's so powerful. Why not? We want to wake up in preparation for the big day, the judgment day of Yom Hazikaron, Yom Teruah. But the rest of the year, like I always say, if everything's special, nothing's special. So we don't really use it. Sometimes I've seen people use shofarot at special gatherings, like a fast day, or when somebody is when there's a war. No, for bar mitzvahs, it's true. I see it all the time at the Kota. You lived in the old city, so it became like a real festive practice. That some people, make a big deal about welcoming the bar mitzvah boy to the kotel and getting before his aliyah. So it's a sort of initiation into being an adult, a Jewish adult. So they celebrate it. One way to celebrate, they say, well, the shofar is very Jewish, and it's very festive. So they blow the shofar as of course, the shofar. It's the same shofar that blows the wailing, and it also blows the tekiah. And then people don't necessarily know the history or the deep meanings. The teruah is actually representing brokenness, and the tekiah they should be only blowing tekiah at a festive celebration. But we do it all, and it's sort of like a new practice that people blow the shofar at a bar mitzvah. It's very, very recent. But at fast days or at times when you're praying for a war or for a calamity, which you're asking Hashem to save you, some people actually bring out the shofar, but it's rare. It's rare. Usually only Elul and Rosh Hashanah.
One more question.
Yeah, one more question. I'll take Amos's question too. Yeah.
Regarding shofar, there's a short one, there's a long one. Which is the appropriate?
So we're going to learn about that. It's coming up. Yeah. Go, Amos.
I have two questions. The one is, what is the shvarim?
We're getting there.
We're getting
there.
The second question
Yes.
is, it's written here in that the Rosh Hashanah, based on close reading of the words of sages interpret and in an obligation to hear Sri Teruah and Rosh Hashanah. No, this one. Rosh Hashanah is referred to as Yom Teruah, a day of brokenness and tears, fear and trepidation. And but we learn in over here that we shouldn't be We shouldn't be some maintain that just as we do not recite Vidu or Rosh Hashanah, or should we also leave out the lines of Avinu Malkeinu prayer that mention the sins, like our Father, our King, we have sinned before you. We shouldn't do that. But the tears and not remembering the sins, how we should to make that happen. The Yom Teruah, or
it's complicated.
I do like
we know
trembling.
it's yeah.
Of trembling, but
Right.
I don't understand the
Right.
cry. That's because I cry only when I did something wrong or, or if I'm happy, very happy.
I see. So crying can be part when you're really sorry for something wrong, and we know we're being judged, and so you cry when the emotions cannot be held back anymore, and whatever emotion it is, like you said, there's also tears of joy. So it's amazing. It's an amazing human reaction. And so the idea, your Rosh Hashanah is a very meaningful day. There are a lot of emotions. And we try to walk the line. It's a fine line. It is the day of judgment, but we don't mention sins. We said yesterday we're opening the convention of the review. It's not the end of the review. And we're focusing more on the positive, that we're joining the mission of the Jewish people. And Hashem, we're hoping that Hashem will give us a good judgment based on our commitment and faith and dedication that we speak about to the King. And we sort of hide the element of the actual review, the detailed review of our actions. We sort of hide that, but it's still there inside us. And so we're not talking about it, but we're feeling it. And that's how
there's a garbage thing somewhere in the corner.
It's there. It's there. Yeah.
Okay.
It's there, and we know that this is there's a lot at stake with this process, and so that's why the tears and the brokenness are still there. The most present they are, it's not in the words we say, but it's in the very sounds that we make. The sounds of the crying, the sounds of the shofar is like crying. So we don't verbalize this issue of the sins, but we express, the fear, the trepidation, the seriousness of the day through the shofar blast. Okay, let's see. Let's go on. Section 2, page 72. As we have seen, go ahead, Michael. Go on, continue. On page 72.
30 blessed. As we have seen, the Torah alludes to sorrow, brokenness, and tears. Over the course of time, however, the doubt arose as to what is the optimal sound of the Torah. Some congregations blew medium-length sounds, reminiscent of someone sighing, what we now call shevarim. Other congregations blew shorter blasts, like someone having with convulsive sobs, what we now call teruah. Still others blew both types of blasts, imitating a person in pain who starts by sighing and continues with sobbing, what we now call shevarim teruah. Even though one fulfills the obligation with any of these variations, it can seem to unlearned people that there is a dispute about this matter. Therefore, Rabbi Abahu instituted that in his city, Caesarea, all three types of teruah will be blown. There was another reason for this ordinance. Each type of teruah has a unique volume, and it's proper to hear all types of teruah, according to the Zohar. This ordinance was then accepted by all communities ever since. The medium-length blasts are called shevarim, and the short blasts are called teruah. The order of blowing is as follows. We begin with 3 sets of Tashrat, Tekiah, Shevarim, Teruah, Tekiah. We follow this with 3 sets of Tashat, Tekiah, Shevarim, Tekiah. We conclude with 3 sets of Tarat, Tekiah, Teruah, Tekiah. Since Rabbi Abahu's ordinance was accepted, the obligation is no longer fulfilled by hearing only one type of Teruah. Rather, one must hear all 3 types of Teruah. Thus, even though according to the Torah we are obligated to blow 9 blasts, nowadays we are obligated to blow 30. 9 for the 3 sets of Tashak, 9 for the 3 sets of Tarat, and 12 for the 3 sets of Tashrat.
Okay. Did you see that 9 turned into 30? Let me do it here on the board. The word the Torah says is teruah. Now, there are 3 different customs that developed. This is a simple way to explain what the Gemara says about it. Some people did a teruah that sounded like 2, 2, 2, 3 short blasts. And some people they thought the teruah, the way it should be done is 9 short blasts. 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2. 9. 3 for each. So 9 short blasts. And some people, apparently some communities, said we're going to do both together. And they did shvarim, followed by teruah as one sound. It's one sound. It's one sound called the teruah. So we have 3 options. What do? We do all 3. But we also said that we don't blow just a teruah. We have to have a tekiah first and a tekiah after, right? So now we have to do this 3 in 3 different ways. We replace the teruah, the middle part of this set, with either shvarim or teruah or shvarim teruah. And what did we say? We do the set not once but 3 times. So we have to have 3 times shvarim, 3 times tekiah, shvarim, tekiah, 3 times tekiah, teruah, tekiah, and 3 times tekiah, shvarim, teruah, tekiah. So that adds up to 30, right? Because here we have 12, right? So it's 3 times 4, right? Because there's shvarim is 1, teruah is another, and then we have a tekiah before and a tekiah after. So that's 4 times 3 is 12. And here we have 3 times 3 sounds, right? We have tekiah, teruah, tekiah. That's 9. And then we have 3 times 3, right? Tekiah, shvarim, tekiah, times 3. That's also 9. It's 9 plus 9 plus 12 gives you 30. So in order to fulfill the original Yom Teruah, which has to be done 3 times, and sandwiched by a tekiah, instead of doing 3 times 3, which is 9, just once, we do 9, and then another 9, and then another type of teruah called a double type, shvarim and teruah together, and that gives us a set of 12. So we do 30, a complete set. In order to fulfill the biblical mitzvah, according to all these 3 traditions, of the way the teruah is supposed to sound, minimum we should do is 30. So we're going to see later, for example, when my wife last year didn't go to the synagogue, for whatever reason, she couldn't go, so she asked my son actually to blow shofar for her. He did for her a set of 30. Tekiah, shvarim, teruah, tekiah, 3 times, and then shvarim 3 times, and then teruah 3 times. Set of 30 sounds. Is that clear?
I don't understand this mathematics over in that corner.
This one?
Yeah, that's why it's 4.
Oh, because shvarim is, of course, well, you start off with a tekiah, right? That's number 1. And shvarim is the second sound that you make. Teruah is the 3rd sound that you make, and the tekiah afterwards is the 4th sound you make. Right, so it's a set, but it actually has 4 different types of sounds. The Shvarim followed by the Trua immediately, without any break in between them. Here, each one is separate, right? The Shvarim is only the Shvarim we do, without any Trua. And here we do only, sorry? Shvarim is the 3 sounds.
No, I mean the word
Shivar means broken. So it's a broken sound, yeah.
shabu.
And
Shavu,
what is the sound
shavu.
of tekiya? It's
Yes, just one straight blast, exactly.
like a full note, or it's like.
Yeah, it's like a full note. Good, I like that. Yeah, is that clear now, Stephen?
Yes.
So this set of 4 we have to do 3 times, just like this set of 3 we have to do 3 times, and this set of 3 we have to do 3 times. 9 plus 9 plus 12, 30. Yes.
So the Oraita is like you have to make a Teruah blessed. What's the blessed? Teruah is the blessed, right?
True as the blast. Yeah.
But they don't say how much. And this is the interpretation.
Our tradition says 3 times.
But this, you can say this like a fence that they make, like you want to be show 3, they make a...
You could say it that way. The Torah, according to our tradition, says 3 times this set of Tekiya, Teruah, Tekiya.
Tradition, not in the Oraita and the Rabbanan.
The Oraita. The interpretation of what the Oraita, when it says a day of shofar blast, we interpret there should be 3 Teruahs, and each Teruah has to have a Tekiya before it and afterwards. So the Doraita is 3 times Tekiya, which equals 9, right?
Yes.
What we're explaining is why 9 turned into 30. That is all different methods. What's the best way to do the Doraita 9? So we really say if you want to be sure that you fulfilled the biblical mitzvah 100%, do 30. This is only for the biblical mitzvah. Because really it's different ways of doing the biblical 9. Is that clear now?
Yes.
Okay. So really, essentially when we say the 30, you need to do 30 in order to fulfill the biblical mitzvah.
Oh.
It's all from the interpretation of the 9, in different ways. Gives us to make sure we do Tekiya, Shivarim, Tekiya, right? Tekiya 3 times, and then Tekiya, Teruah, Tekiya 3 times, and then Tekiya, Shivarim, Teruah, Tekiya 3 times.
I want to question, why they base that it's 3 times in the Oraita? Because it's the word, you see the word 3 times.
I believe the word Teruah is 3 times in the text, but I'm not sure. I think it's probably an oral transmission as well. That was given over, that it's not just blow the shofar once on Rosh Hashanah, but Yom Teruah, to make it a day of Teruah, day of wailing, it probably not just 1.
Yes.
And that 3 also, maybe it's just logic that 3 is something which is considered to be set. There's a halachic concept called chazakah. If you do something 3 times, it has extra significance. It's considered to be set. So to set the day as a day of shofar blowing, it has to be at least 3 times that you blow the shofar. Then there's the tradition that you have to have it sandwiched by the tekiyas. So 3 times 3 is 9. That how to do the 9, what the middle of the sandwich is a matter of debate here. And so to fulfill all the opinions, we try to do 30. In order to make sure that we get the 9 100% according to all the traditions. Is that clear? Yeah?
So there is difference between Sephardi
No. Well, there are fine differences about how to do the Shvarim. And maybe a little bit about how to do the Truah. But the structure is universal. From Rabbi Abahu's time and on. Rabbi Abahu in Caesarea, Caesarea. That's today a beautiful city.
Some very rich people there.
There's some beautiful homes there. There's a golf course there. There is, and Rabbi Abahu used to live there. He used to be the rabbi there, and he instituted this idea that we should do all 3 types of different traditions. And so everybody, Sephardim, Ashkenazim, Yemenites, we all do the bare minimum 30. Now we're going to see that we have to get to 100. But first, the most important step is that this 30 essentially is a fulfillment of the biblical 9, which comes from the Yom Teruah, a day of shofar blasts. Okay, is that clear? Good. Okay. Okay. Yeah.
I want to ask, just now you're saying that your wife didn't go to synagogue and
Right.
you started to blow the shofar for her.
Correct.
So she is obligated to hear the shofar.
It's so interesting. We're gonna read about it, but there is a basic rule when it comes to mitzvot. Women are obligated in all the mitzvot of the Torah just like men. They're also people. They're also Jews. And that's why a woman is not allowed to do any of the negative commandments. And she must do all the positive commandments too. Except for, there's a category called time-bound mitzvot. Mitzvot which have to be done at a specific time. There's many different explanations as to why. The assumption is the role of woman as primarily taking care of the home and the little children doesn't allow her to be so careful about her time. The kids always need something; they need it right away. You can't be so scheduled. It's very difficult. So, anyways, that's the principle. Rosh Hashanah, supposed to blow the shofar when? One day of the year. This day only. That's time bound. That's connected to time. So, women are exempt from the mitzvah of hearing the shofar. Of course, they're not allowed to do work on Rosh Hashanah.
Yes.
It's a negative commandment. And Rosh Chodesh is something else. But all the positive commandments, they still have Rosh Hashanah. They're still going to pray if possible. We'll talk about their obligations. But the positive commandment to blow the shofar, women are exempt. Custom is the women like to hear the shofar. It's the heart of the day. You know, even if she can't hear all 100, at least she can hear 30. Takes 5 minutes, maybe less. So women try to come to the synagogue for part of the service, if not for all of it. And if they can't, so then you can blow the shofar for them at home. And they can participate in the mitzvah that way. There's a debate between Sephardim and Ashkenazim whether women make a bracha when they perform commandments they're not obligated to. Surprisingly, women are not obligated to sit in the sukkah either. It's also time-bound mitzvah. They all try to, they all want to. Why not? It's a family sitting in the sukkah. But technically, women are exempt because it's time-bound positive commandment.
But there is a saying that the women are fulfilling the obligation to the men as well, isn't it?
It depends which mitzvah. This type of mitzvah, it's a mitzvah to hear the shofar. You can't hear for your wife. You can't. If it's dependent on the body, you can't do bodily things. Other things, the agency you can have for things which are not mitzvah that are obligatory to do with your own body, but you have to hear with your own ears. You don't have your wife's ears. It's not going to help you. You can hear it that you can't really help her. You can go home and blow a shofar for her. That you can do, but you can't actually have her fulfill her obligation, which she doesn't have, by you listening. No, it doesn't work that way.
My family wife, there's only one. There's like 4 daughters and 2 sisters.
It happens. So, that's okay. They don't have to hear the shofar, but I'm sure they want to. It's part of our tradition.
They do
they go to the shul. Good. Most of the mitzvot are obligated, and it's good, even if they're women. As I was starting to say, according to the Ashkenazi tradition, women who sit in the sukkah make a bracha. Women who do hear the shofar make a bracha. Sephardic tradition is no, they can't say they're commanded because they're not commanded. Blessing says, "Blessed are you, Lord, who commanded us." But the Ashkenazi tradition is to make a bracha on a custom as well, and even if they take upon themselves this custom to listen to shake a lulav also. Women are not obligated. It's only supposed to be at a specific time. But the women who do, the Ashkenazi women make a bracha first, and the Sephardi women don't make a bracha, but they still want to fulfill the mitzvah. They can take part. They have merit, but it's different. It's just different. Okay? Yeah, you want to see?
Yeah, if you like in this example, maybe you go to the place where they blow the shofar and the recorded is phone and let this woman here. That also
Good. We're gonna see, and this I think you were mentioning. Who was it?
From the windows and.
That's right. It has to be the sound of the shofar itself, not a recording.
Okay.
So that way you can't. Recording is not kosher.
Like the Megillah reading also.
That's right. That's right. You can't. Some people even say you're not allowed to use a microphone, an amplifier, because it's not the original sound of the shofar. Yeah. Other questions? Okay, Pinchas, how are you? Good. Good. All right. Hopefully you'll catch up by reading the chapter 4. We're up to section 3 already, but we're still searching for the 100. So far we only have 30. We got from 1 blast to 9 blasts of the shofar to 30. Everybody with me? Let's move ahead. Okay? Let's keep moving. Standing and sitting. Amos will read, but first he has a question. What's the question?
Yeah. My question again I look at this, and here is this section.
Yeah?
If I counted, it's a 90 blow.
No, it's 30. It's 30, not 90.
It's not, if you
30.
go 3 times this way and then 3 times this way.
If the 3 times are written out for you, it's written out 3 times.
Yeah.
You don't have to times it by 3.
No, because
add up all these, it's 30. No, this is 12. 12.
No, this is 12 plus 2 is 14.
This is 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4.
You don't count like this is 3 and this is 9?
No.
Oh.
No, each one is 1, like I did over here on the board. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah, I do understand.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Now, okay.
Now
because
it's 30.
I was counting like
No. Each one is 1. Each one is 1.
2 is 9 little things. And
No. This is what this is considered to be 1 sound, and this is considered to be 1 sound, even though it has 3 parts to it. Right. Okay. Good. All right. We're ready to move in. Our sages, go ahead.
Our sages ordained that the mitzvah of hearing the shofar is integrated into a special
Brachot. Well, this is what I told you yesterday.
Brachot added in Amidah of Musaf on Rosh Hashanah, Malchuyot, Zikronot, and Shofarot. This enhances both the shofar blowing and the prayers. This is not a prerequisite for fulfilling the mitzvah. Though, when the shofar blowing cannot be integrated into the prayers and shofar blowing may be separated. Moreover, the integration of the brachot in the shofar blowing was ordained only for communal prayer. Someone praying alone may not blow the shofar during the Amidah, Rosh Hashanah 32 Aleph, 34 Bets, Shulchan Aruch 592, 1-2. Originally, the shofar was blowing on the special brachot were recited during the shacharit for those who are enthusiastic perform a mitzvah at the earliest opportunity. There is in Makdimim la mitzvot. Later, at the time of the anti-religious persecution, shofar blowing was outlawed by the government. And enemy soldiers would try to catch Jew blowing shofar on the morning of Rosh Hashanah. So the Jews instituted that the shofar be blown and the special brachot recited at Musaf, which can be prayed in the afternoon, even after the ban of shofar blowing and the time that did not revert back out of fear that the persecution would be renewed. Eventually, the custom of blowing the shofar during Musaf to Rosh Hashanah 32b Tosaf and Ritva a block. Some maintain that it is actually preferable to blow during Musaf, since the Musaf offering was a central mitzvah of the holiday, and the Musaf prayer corresponds to it. One view it in the Rosh Hashanah for 8.
Okay, so the bottom line up till now, what he said is that we blow the shofar in the prayer service. Which prayer service? They used to be accustomed to do it in Shacharit. Nowadays, it's universal, as I explained to you yesterday. We do it in the Musaf. Okay? However, there's something new happens. Go ahead.
The sages also institute shofar blowing before Musaf and permitted sitting for this blast. They are therefore known as tekiyot di meyushav.
Like Yoshev, to be sitting. Meyushav, you said it right. I'm just saying it comes from the word lashevet. Yeah.
Sitting tekiyot. Even though lechatchila is preferable for both shofar blower and listeners to stand while the mitzvah is being fulfilled. The sages permitted to listeners to sit before Musaf in order to show that the tekiyot blown later during Musaf, tekiyot di meyuman,
Standing, right? Amidah, right? Lamod.
Are the primary ones for which one must stand. Indeed, the custom of Sephardim and Yemenites is to sit for the tekiyah before Musaf. Nevertheless, Ashkenazim commonly stand for this tekiyot because they are the first shofar blast, and one fulfills his basic obligation with them. Shulchan Aruch 585.
Okay, so what he just added now, he just said, do you realize what just happened? He just said, we do 30, you with me, Michael? Twice. We do it twice. Not in Shacharit, but before Musaf. In between Shacharit and Musaf. We do it once in the order of Musaf, which is the original idea, that it should be together with the prayers. And then we're going to see why in just a minute. They added another set of 30 to fulfill the biblical mitzvah of 9, right? They added another set of 30 even before Musaf starts. So we have two sets. What are their names? The one that's in the middle of the Amidah is called Tikiyot de Me'umad, the standing Tikiyot. And the one which is before the Musaf starts, where you don't necessarily have to stand, is called Tikiyot de Meyushav. So we have two sets of 30. We are already up to 60, right? Yeah. So far so good? We have two sets. One during the Amidah, it's called the Dimumad, and the first set is even before that, is Tikiyot de Meyushav. They're called the sitting Tikiyot. Most Ashkenazim stand. They stand for both. But one's in the middle of the Amidah and one's before the Amidah. Okay? So we have 60 sounds to hear. So why? Why did they double it? Why did they add the extra 30? So we're going to see, it's very interesting. It's a little bit curious, but it could be connected to persecution. The Talmud says something very, very interesting. I think the heart of it is that this is the mitzvah of the day. It's supposed to have an impact on us to do tshuva. So maybe we should do more. Not just once try to fulfill the biblical mitzvah, but do it twice.
But
yeah.
Also, some months have 29 days, some months have 30 days, right?
Okay.
Is it also connected with that maybe? Or
why?
Rosh Hashanah.
No, that's no. We already discussed why we have 2 days of Rosh Hashanah, but we're talking about each day of Rosh Hashanah. Why to do 30, we understand. And why to double it? To do 60, that's curious. Well, they wanted to do it twice, just to be sure, maybe. Let's take a look. The top of page 75. According to the Gemara. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, the reason.
According to the Gemara, the reason the sages institute shofar blowing while sitting before Musaf and then again while standing during Musaf is to confound the accuser.
That's it. That's the reason. It says we want to confuse the Satan. Lebalbel et hasatan. What does that mean? We want to confuse the Satan. Who is the Satan? And why is blowing the shofar blasts before the Musaf confuse him? Or twice. Why does that confuse him? What's going on here? And who is this guy that we're trying to confuse? And doesn't he figure it out from year to year? He can read the book. He can read the book too, and he can understand it. Who is this Satan? What does that mean to confuse the Satan? She's going to bring a few interpretations. Go ahead.
Rashi explains that when the Satan sees that the Jews love the mitzvot so much that they blow even more blast than the Torah requires, he is silenced.
So that the first interpretation is, it expresses our love of the mitzvot. Love conquers the Satan.
Love conquers the Satan.
Right? Rashi. That's Rashi's interpretation. Go ahead, Ramban.
Ramban explains that the shofar blasts have the special power to bind the Jews to their Father in heaven. This confounds that the Satan, during the fierce tekiyot, and thus he is unable to prosecute during the Amidah.
Okay, so the second interpretation is, each time you blow the shofar, it has an impact. The first time, the Satan's gonna, the negative forces, the forces that want to not let the Jews succeed, he's gonna fight against it. So he's gonna be busy with the first time we blow the first set of 30 shofar blasts. He's gonna still be busy and preoccupied and held up so that when we do it the second time, we'll be free from the Satan, because he's still busy with our fighting against our first set of 30. So we do the second. That's what it means to confuse the Satan. It means to keep him busy, and he has the ability to contradict maybe the first set, but the second set we're already scot-free. We're free from the Satan because he's already been, all of his power to resist our mitzvot has been used up with the first set. That's the second interpretation. Go ahead.
Others say that the prosecutor can prosecute only once. When the shofar blowing starts before the Amidah, he lays out his case, so he has nothing left to say during the Amidah.
Very similar idea to the Ramban, but yeah. Okay.
Still others say that the primary manifestation of the Satan is as the evil inclination. This inclination is
thwarted. Thwarted means it's cancelled out. It's fought against. Yeah.
Thwarted by the many shofar blasts, which inspire us to repent.
That's the one interpretation I said to you first. Mm-hmm. Is that what matters is the impact on us. Shofar enables us to do tshuva. So that if we do it twice, we'll be even more inspired to do tshuva. That's the run. Go ahead. Perhaps
during the first set of blasts, one is so excited that he is unable to focus properly. Later, after he has heard blast, he's calmer, and can focus properly.
Okay, so from Talmudic times, we've got from 90 to 60. And for hundreds of years, this was the practice. 60 sounds instead of 1 or 9, right? Based on what we said. But over time, there were even more additions. We got to 100. Let's keep going. There's an ancient custom. I'm continuing to read on number 4 on page 75. Dating back to Gaonic times. That's after the Talmud. To blow 100 blasts. During the times of the Rishonim, most communities did not follow this practice. Rather, they blew 30 blasts before Musaf. And during the Musaf itself, some blew an additional 10 blasts, while others blew an additional 30. But pretty much it was 60 for many, many years. During the time of the Achronim, the later commentators, following Arizal's prescription of mystical meditations, for each of the 100 blasts, the custom blowing 100 blasts spread, and today is almost universal. Right, so when do we add the extra? How many are left? 40, right. So the 100 blasts are arranged as follows. Page 76. Before Musaf, we blow 30 blasts. That's when we say the bracha too. The first time we blow the shofar. Before Musaf.
Yeah.
Right? We said 3 sets of Tashrat, 3 sets of Tashat, 3 sets of Tarat. That's the standard 30. During the repetition of the Musaf Amida, another 30 blasts are blown. 1 set each of Tashrat, Tashat, and Tarat. After each of the Malchuyot, Zichronot, and Shofarot. So the second time we do the 30, follow along for a second. Give me a blue here for a second. The first time we blow the shofar blasts, we do it in this order. We do 3 times 4, 12, and then we do 3 times of the shavarim, and then 3 times of the truah. It's mixed up here, but that's the order. Basically 12, 9, and 9. We have these 3 sets. But the second time that we blow the shofar, we blow it inside the Musaf prayer. Inside the Musaf prayer, we have the Malchuyot, Zichronot, and Shofarot. Most communities, what they do is here they blow 10, and here 10, and here 10. How do we get to 10? We take 1 set of Tekiah Shavarim Tekiah, 1 set of Tekiah Teruah Tekiah, and 1 set of Tekiah Shvarim Teruah Tekiah. 3 plus 3 plus 4 equals 10. So it's sort of divided up differently during the Amidah. When we blow the shofars, we do 3 sets of 10, not 12 plus 9 plus 9. Is that clear? During the Amidah. The repetition of the Amidah, in most places do it then. Okay, so that's where we get to 60. Now let's see more. I'm continuing to read on page 76 regarding the silent Amidah. There are different customs. Some blow the shofar during the silent Amidah, as they do during the repetition. So then you'd already have, if you do it 30 during the silent Amidah and 30 during the repetition, you already have 90. Okay? So some communities, they do that. By integrating the blasts and the prayers, both are more readily accepted. This is the custom of Sfaradim and Hasidim. For those who follow this custom, the shofar blow sets the pace of prayer. The worshippers do their best to pray at his pace so that they hear the blasts at the proper place, at the end of a bracha. To that end, the shofar blower must pray at a steady pace. Anyone who finishes a bracha before he does should wait for him to blow the shofar before continuing. But those who wish to pray a bit faster or slower may do so. Those who choose to do this recite the paragraph Hayomarat Olam following their conclusion of each bracha. Then when the shofar is blown, even if they are in the middle of a different bracha, they stop to listen to the blast and continue with their prayers. I sometimes pray in a synagogue like that, where they do the shofar in the silent Amidah of Musaf and also in the repetition of the Amidah. So that's 90. But here in the yeshiva, for example, they don't do that. They just do 30 plus 30 in the repetition. And because many people find that the blowing the shofar in the middle of the silent Amidah is confusing. Because you're at a different, everybody's doing their silent Amidah slower, faster. Not all everybody's at the same pace. And so I think most communities don't blow the shofar during the silent Amidah. Okay? So we're still left with 60, right? 30 before Musaf and 30 divided up a little differently during the repetition. Keep going. Others do not blow during the silent Amidah. This is the custom of Ashkenazim. They feel that the primary ordinance is to blow the shofar during the communal prayer. That is, during the Chazan's repetition. Additionally, the need for individual to coordinate the pace of his prayer with that of the shofar blower is likely to distract the focus of the worshiper. Those who blow the shofar during the silent Amidah will have blown 90 blasts by the end of the Chazan's repetition. They blow the last 10 during the final Kaddish. those who do not blow during the silent Amidah, are still 40 tekiyot short at the end of the Chazan's repetition. So they blow 30 blasts after Aleinu and another 10 following Anim Zmirot. They have to add in the extra 40, because they only did 30 plus 30. The additional 40 they do after Musaf, the end of Musaf. Aleinu. Sometimes they do it in the middle of the Kaddish, but for whatever reason, there is a common custom to do a full 100 sounds, not just 60, or not just 30, and not just 9, and not just 1. But the 1 turns into 100.
How it gets so complicated?
Beautiful, huh? Isn't it beautiful?
It's
It's beautiful. It's beautiful. The Torah says it should be a day of shofar blast. We love our mitzvot. Should we just blow one time because the shofar says, oh, today is a shofar. Today is the day of the shofar. So 1 turns into 100.
You should blow shofar all day long.
Some people do that also. They do it even after the services.
Like every hour. Like.
There is you've heard of Chabad, right? They have one of their operations. They want every Jew in the world should hear the shofar on Rosh Hashanah. And so they walk down the street. They say, are you Jewish? Have you heard the shofar? Well, let me blow the shofar for you. Sometimes they'll blow a set of 10. Sometimes they'll blow a set of 30. It depends how much time the person is giving them. But then they sometimes they announce, we're going to go to this neighborhood in the park, and we're going to blow the shofar. And all the kids come, and all the parents come with the kids, even if they're not religious. They didn't go to shul. They're wearing their t-shirt and jeans, and they're wearing their shorts. They come off their bicycles. Maybe they even stop their car. They're not observant, but they want to listen to the shofar in Rosh Hashanah. What a holy nation. What a mitzvah. It's a beautiful mitzvah to assist. So they're blowing the shofar all day long. You'll be able to hear it. Even in the afternoon, you'll be here. People are blowing shofar for other people. Just so that everybody can hear the shofar. This is one day a year. It's actually 2 days a year. We talked about it, that we do Rosh Hashanah twice. We saw it in the last chapter. I guess you must have missed it. So read up about it. We'll see it next time. So we're going to stop here, and we'll continue with Hashem tomorrow. We're going to meet you downstairs, -1 at 11 o'clock. Okay? For the special.